Welcome to the AI Chat Podcast. I'm your host, Jaden Schaefer. Every day, I cover cutting-edge AI news and talk with the leaders behind it, breaking down what it means for your life and business. ChatGPT Work, the Claude Cowork competitor, has reached 20 million users. This is according to their head of core products. OpenAI said that they are cutting the API prices 80% with Luna, their Luna model, and they said that this is going to be a permanent price correction. So if you're using Claude, or if you're using ChatGPT Work to get stuff done and you switch to the Luna model, you're going to use very little credits. And the reason why this is important is because for so long, you were only able to access, if you wanted to get access to ChatGPT Work, you had to pay $100 and get on the enterprise tier, $100 a month. But now ChatGPT Work is going to be bundled with their $20 a month plus plan. So anyone basically is going to be able to get access to ChatGPT Work. I think this is very smart because essentially at the end of the day, when it comes to the $20 plan, the $100 plan, the $200 plan, I mean, they're basically all the same thing. I'm sure there's some extra check boxes that they say you're going to get, but the product basically functions the exact same way. The difference is how much usage you get. And so I don't think there's any sense in saying, look, our greatest feature is paywalled behind our more expensive tiers, because at the end of the day, they want their lower tier people to get access to this tool, which in my opinion, it's kind of this magical aha moment with AI. And then if you have a ton of projects, you're just going to upgrade to a higher tier to use them. And that's kind of where I found myself with Claude. I think Claude did that same strategy and I was able to get access. I know a lot of people that use Claude Cowork, the $20 a month, but at the end of the day, if you have a big project, you're going to be happy to pay $100 or $200 a month to get it all done, because the cost of hiring developers would have been thousands of dollars back in the day. So people just see a lot of the value there. And not just developers, but there's so many different tasks you can do. There's an interesting quote I saw. So Sodio, who's their head of core product, said that the design philosophy is to get out of the way of the model, not put a whole bunch of like A/B choice questions in front of all the users and ask them to answer all of this, but really to have the model take a lead. I've actually found this. I actually use Claude Cowork and ChatGPT Work both at the same time. I have both subscriptions for different reasons, which I could get into. But it was interesting because Ethan Mollick, the Wharton professor, who's big AI influencer, he was saying it's one of the biggest difference he sees between the two models is that Claude's Cowork is going to give you a lot more decision points. It's going to ask you a lot more questions, but that's not really the case with ChatGPT. It's trying to get stuff done. And actually, I think there's pros and cons to that. Yesterday, I was working with both of the models at the same time on two different tabs, and I'm sure people are like, people like to say everyone else's workflows are dumb for whatever reason. I'm sure people would criticize that workflow that I have, but I have a maxed out $200 a month ChatGPT Work plan, and then I have a $100 Anthropic plan. The reason I had to get the $100 Anthropic plan is because I did notice there's like some bugs with the ChatGPT plan. I've got a few times where it's not able to access my browser and I have to restart my whole computer and then restart it. And anyways, it works. There was also an issue where it wasn't able to connect to the Meta MCP for doing my Meta ads, which I really needed to do as a big project. So I also got Claude for that and a couple other things. So hopefully they fix that. I do think at the end of the day, I prefer the ChatGPT Work experience to Claude. Shocker, because I know I've been like the biggest Claude advocate for at least 9 months now. So I do think they have a better experience, but like I mentioned, they got a couple bugs. So, you got to take that with a grain of salt. Hopefully they get those figured. One thing I did notice that was different when I was working between the two is I would actually, a couple times I gave Claude and ChatGPT the exact same prompt in Cowork and Work to see what the difference was. And Claude would get like the first chunk of what I said done, and then it would get to a breaking point and it's like, okay, I did XYZ, would you like me to continue with the next thing? That's not bad, but if you really want to be hands off, it can be annoying. Whereas ChatGPT Work, I would be like, hey, we're going to do this because my goal at the end of the day is to post this to this other place. So I kind of gave it the broad project, but I gave it one specific thing. And sometimes it'd go a little too far. It would be like, okay, awesome. Like I created the plan and I have it all and I actually went and updated, or, I was like, I've already started uploading all the files to the end platform. I'm like, whoa. Like I need to like check it and make sure it like looks good. And I guess in my prompt, I should have been like, do this and then let me know and then I'll check it, and then once it's approved then you can go upload it. I'm just so used to Claude automatically doing that. Now, is that a bad thing? I don't necessarily think so. I think you just have to understand that with ChatGPT, if you give it the overall vision, it's going to try to execute the whole thing, which actually can be like honestly very nice, because the bane of my existence is when I'm on Claude and I'm like, hey Claude, can you go get this project done for me? And then I turn around. I go to the store or something for a couple hours and come back, and then I realize that it was stuck. It didn't do anything because it was like, sure, I can do that project. Do you want me to do this, or that? And then it just has this like waiting answer screen that was open for 2 hours, and I click it and it's like, okay, now I'm getting started. And I'm like, like I really wish you could have just done that over the last 2 hours while I wasn't there. So ChatGPT doesn't seem to have that problem. Another thing that I really do like about ChatGPT Work is if I say, hey, look, like try to get this project done over, like don't stop till you get this whole project done. I've given it really big projects before. Recently, I needed it to write, I was building a directory for a project that I was working on, and it was like a church finder directory as part of my Learn of Christ Bible study app that I'm building and website. So I was making this directory, but there's 350,000 churches in America. And I was like, hey, I want to make like a directory so of every church, so people can like, put in whatever they're looking for and it can direct them to some, because I wasn't finding a super complete directory. And the issue is with 350,000 churches, I need to write a description, like a little description for each church, like, oh, this is a Pentecostal church that's known for XYZ things, located in this area, people like this about it, right? Just like some sort of like short blurb for everyone to give people some context. And so I was, going to go to their website and get some information to write that. Well, writing 300,000 kind of like directory descriptions is going to take a very long time to do, especially with all of the research. And I'm kind of used to with Claude, I'll give it like a big project like that, and Claude will get started and then it'll be like, okay, like I've written like 1,000 of them. This is a big project. Are you sure you want me to continue? And I'm like, continue. And then it will, okay, I've written 1,000 more. And so I got to do that 350 times over the course of a few days or a couple weeks in order to get that whole project done. That's kind of the workflow. And sometimes I'm like, don't stop until you get this whole thing done, whatever. The thing that I love about ChatGPT Work is I literally have that prompt running, and it sets up like a long running task, and it tracks it, and it has a timer on there, and I'll come back and it's like, we've been running this task for 24 hours and 14 minutes, and we're on batch 5,000 of X amount of batches that we're doing for this. So ChatGPT has the ability to do these like really long standing tasks. And I know that's not like a model limitation. It's not like intrinsically ChatGPT's models are smarter than Claude's. It's just that Claude's harness hasn't really given Claude the ability to as easily get those long running tasks done that ChatGPT has done. So, right, there's pros and cons of every model. That's one thing that I really appreciate it for. If there's something that I need done super, super well, I feel like the absolute ultra max top of the line AI model for OpenAI right now, I feel like it's a little bit better than Kodak or than Claude, code. But I'm also not really using Fable 5 that much because it just burns my credits, and I don't know, I kind of got burnt out of there. And so mostly I'm just using the top models from ChatGPT when I need to get some of those long-standing things done. So pros and cons of each model. At the end of the day, ChatGPT Work, in my opinion, as of right now, is a slightly better experience, but Claude Work is definitely better at making those connectors and the MCP connections. It's a little bit smoother of a process. And overall, I think they've had a little bit more time to refine the app to what people want. I think ChatGPT is going to probably catch up soon, and maybe, Claude will catch up to some of the features. So they're pretty similar, and I guess it really depends which one you're more familiar with or which one you have more context with. But I don't think, if you've been using ChatGPT this whole time and someone's like, oh, you got to try Claude, at this point, I don't think you're missing out on anything. And vice versa, if you're, really big on Claude and you don't want to switch to ChatGPT, I don't think you're missing out. So I wouldn't recommend switching from whatever you have, but there are pros and cons, and I am actively using both. And I will say the results are slightly different. So one thing that I do frequently for a lot of different projects that I run is I will tell it to do an SEO audit of a lot of my sites. I have a couple big sites that I'm growing through just like organic SEO kind of Google search results. One of those is AIchatdaily.com. It's my AI news site where I publish about 20 different articles a day, and a lot of the content I talk about on here comes from that site. And so I always am like looking for ways to help that rank better in Google. Specifically, I'm trying to rank in the Google News feed, which it's really cool because, when I can get a story published faster than any of the major journals, because I'm using AI to help assist me in a lot of that, I will rank on Google very quickly and I see like explosive growth to my website. So something I do that's really important for that is making sure my website is optimized and very like fast load times, fast to deliver the content. Everything's really high quality, and the SEO, there's like a lot of different optimization stuff I do. So I asked Claude and I asked ChatGPT both, like, hey, do an SEO audit. I try to do this once a week for this project and for my Bible study app that I'm working on, Learn of Christ. And I'll tell I'll say like, hey, go to my Google Search Console, download all of my reports there of all of my analytics, and then give me like an overall SEO strategy. Make sure that you go and tell me, like, give me recommendations of what new content to write, what new types of things to cover, and also what optimizations I should do to my page. And it's really interesting because I will actually get different results from both of those two models, where one will catch something the other didn't. And I mean, even the same model back to back will catch things that I'll do an audit and then I could literally turn around in a new chat thread on Claude after getting Claude to do an audit and say, do another audit, and it might catch another couple things. So I think at the end of the day, having both models is a bit of a bonus, a bit of a superpower. I've seen a lot of people in the early days say oh, I'm using ChatGPT to clean up all the bugs that Claude left behind. And like, yes, but also you could use Claude to clean up bugs that ChatGPT left behind. So it's not like one model's, completely goated and better than the other. I think using both is a superpower if you have it, but if not, it's not the end of the world. These really are incredibly powerful frontier models that are getting a lot of work done and doing a ton. So both of them are fantastic at the end of the day. Hey, thanks for joining me for this breakdown of everything happening with Claude and ChatGPT. This is an exciting time. There's a ton of new tools coming out. I'm excited to test out some of the other competitors more heavily. I know that SpaceX has their new Grok bot that came out, and I know that Google is working on some great competitors in this field as well. So I'll keep you guys up to date as those come out. These are kind of the tools I love and I'm using every day. So I have a pretty deep understanding of some of the pros and cons, and I'll make sure to keep you guys updated on that. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to leave the podcast a rating and review wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure to go check out AIbox.ai if you want to get the ability to generate images, audio, text, video, all inside of Claude, or all 80 of the most popular AI models in the world generating inside of ChatGPT or any other AI model. It's AIbox.ai/MCP.